Hello everybody and welcome to my time-lapse painting. Thank you so much for joining me, and here is the final product. 24 by 18 acrylic on canvas, titled Blanketed. I'm trying to capture the wind blowing the sea and the clouds from the right to the left, and also catching the sea and its sails, blowing them around a bit. Now here we are with the beginning layout, figuring out how I want the clouds to look like. I actually did a layer, obviously, as you can see, the purple, but that got corrupted. Actually, a bunch of my files were corrupted when I was transferring them, unfortunately, but let's not talk about that too much. Let's go back to the painting. Here I am just doing strips of clouds. We'll do a strip, paint it, and then the next strip, just drag the glob of paint over the previous one. I want to make sure I get nice little wispy tips, sharp wispy tips of clouds. One of the biggest concerns I had when I was doing this was just I don't want to mess up the previous, or I don't want to mess up the tips and then have to go back and fix them, because if I have to go back and fix them, it's gonna have to be a lot of other things I need to fix, because the way I painted these clouds was kind of like a little dance. One step plays off the previous step, so if one I don't like how it interacts with the other stuff, then I have to go back and fix a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other aspects of it, and I don't want to do that, so I took my time with this one. I mean, obviously it doesn't look like I took my time because the hand's flying, but overall this video is 15 minutes long, condensed from 14 hours. I didn't do the math, I'm just guessing right now. 13, 14, 15 hours of video. I think the painting, if I was to take all the time it took me to make this painting, I'm gonna guess maybe 16 hours. So yeah, that's it. Let's be that's a good guess. I think 16 hours to make this painting. Actually on the low end of how long it takes to make a painting, but I kind of knew what I wanted to do really early, which was just I wanted the sea to mirror the sky, like a wavy sea mirroring the sky. So then I thought to myself, okay, how do I make wavy clouds? So what I did was I took a sea, or actually I took a picture, not necessarily of a sea, it was actually just like water. I don't know if it was a sea or if it was just a pool or whatever, but the wind was blowing on the water, just these ripples, or like little waves, little ripply waves, and then I just took the picture and just flipped it and to be the sky, or I took it and I spun it 180 degrees, and then I used that as the reference point of my clouds, and then I looked at some pictures of how clouds behave, and I kind of mixed that in my head. It's like, alright, I'm gonna do it this way, that way, blah blah blah, blah blah boop, and then here we are. Again, especially when I get to this little finer details, man, I was really sweating. Okay, maybe exaggerating, but I was definitely anxious to not mess it up, because I really liked how everything was going, and like I said, one brush stroke leads into another. If I have to fix one, I have to fix the other. And like the one thing I focused on that you can't tell I focused on, because I'm letting this fly, the video file, was the tips of the waves and getting those to look nice and cool. Now we are at the sea. The sea, well, I've done this a lot of times, so now I kind of just went out of my head. No reference photos, no videos, no other people's paintings to look at. Just I know what the sea looks like. I've done it a million times, and here I'm going at it. Now usually I start with the horizon when I make the waves. I use a very thin brush. Like I have like half a millimeter. This brush is about a millimeter thick, but I have thinner ones. But because this sea is so choppy, because it's so wavy, I just used my two brushes. This is for the background, the more horizon-y waves. And then after I finish this part, I will use a fan brush. So just a thin, round brush, less than a millimeter thick. And then this is about 1.5 inches. Let me look at it real quick. Yeah, it's about 1.5 inches. But honestly, it's so beat up now, and like This brush has been with me for a while. It's also my favorite brush. And when I look at it, I can only see the last bit of writing on it because most of the writing has been worn off, and I really want to buy more of these, but I have no idea who makes them. It just says Dominican Republic on it. And I can barely make that out. The brush is pretty beat up. Anyway, as you can see, I got to the ship, and unfortunately, a portion of the sea of the video was damaged. Like I said earlier, I had lost a couple of videos during a file transfer because the power went out because of a storm. So I know now never to transfer files while it's stormy because it might not have power. But anyway, here I am making the ship, laying down the bones of the ship. Not too concerned about how it looks like right now, just making sure I don't over add. I'm more concerned about just getting the right lines, how the tilt of the ship, getting the shapes to look like I want them to, and then remembering, oh yeah, I gotta put there's a back sail too. One cool thing I noticed about when I paint is I tend to, after I finish, I look at my painting and remember what I was thinking about or what I was listening to when I was doing this portion or that portion. Like when I was making the sails, I was listening to a history podcast, so it's kind of funny to like relive some of that memory. It's like downloaded into my head. Here I am making the sails. I want them to be blown by the wind too, but not too much, you know. Like I want them to definitely be pulled though, but not. Well, I guess I do make them a little bit wilder once I get to the top. And one of the biggest challenges I have with making a boat, the sails are the easy part. It's actually the body, because the body is so simple yet it needs just getting the part that's closest to the viewer right, and the part that's farthest from the viewer, getting that like balance so it looks like it's in perspective is maybe the most challenging part for me. The sails are actually kind of easy. As you can see, I let it dry another layer. I think it took me about 3 layers of globbing on paint to get the right pop out of it, the right textured look. And I think the biggest challenge I had with this painting was actually getting the front of the boat correct, making sure that it sticks out just enough so that it looks like it's closer to you than the back. Again, one of the coolest things about painting like this and texture painting is that the paint looks just way cooler when you see it in person. But I mean, all paintings actually look way better when you see them in person than when you see a picture. So I always encourage people to go to a museum, look at paintings that way. They're just more fun to look at. And you can also see, like, if you look at them really closely, you can really pick out where they put brush strokes, and then realize like, oh, this isn't as hard as it looks once you know how to do it. So if you're new to painting ever, just don't be afraid to try something very ambitious, because it's just layers after layers after layers. So, you know, don't start with trying to make the whole painting in one go. You know, just start with like the overall big shapes, then the shapes that make up the aspects in those bigger shapes, and then you just get smaller and smaller and add more and more detail. So start very bland, 2 big squares, you know, one for the sea, one for the sky, then bigger shapes for the clouds, bigger shapes for the sea, and so on, or whatever you're painting. Anyway, let's get back to this painting. Here is the crests of the waves. I'm not painting only white paint on this. It's actually a little bit bluish too, but I'm also pulling little sharper tips on the tips of the waves, making it a little jaggedy, like how water kind of just starts, how the water of a wave kind of starts falling over. So I'm pulling that up. I'm not using 4K video. I don't have the camera or the computer for that yet. One day I will, but not as of yet. And now painting the sea, I don't want to say I don't like it because it's nice. It's some people like busy work because they can just zonk out. I don't like busy work, and this is kind of busy work. Not not that I don't have to. I like it when I actually have to make decisions as I'm painting, and I have to think about and look at other things. I don't know what I don't really need to because everything is so uniform when it comes to the crests of waves that I don't have to get too creative or too thought. I don't have to get too much thought into it. I just gotta, all right, this is what it's gonna look like. Boom, boom, bam. Like when it comes to this clouds, which that one takes more, because clouds are just so much more, or they can take so many more different shapes. They can take so many more different patterns and natures. The sea kind of, or water just kind of has more waves or less waves. The clouds are just like, one day they're a glob, one day they're a wisp, one day they're just ginormous, one day they're just like a straight line. So they take so many different shapes in the sky. But the sea is just one giant solid or liquid. But I think of it as a solid when I paint. Funny wise, because I don't think of it as moving, I think of it as still, so I have to think of it as a solid. Oh, there goes my dog barking. Now, one thing I think you may have noticed is that I put some red in the sky. If you see that, I just took some, I forgot exactly what the paint was. I think it was like quinacridone red with a little bit of orange, and just mixed that together real quick and painted a light or translucent layer over the clouds. And I did that because when I finished making the sea, I didn't actually see the purple and that more tealish blue of the sea. For some reason, I was thinking to myself, I don't think this matches. So I almost painted it a different color. But then I said, okay, let me add a color that is complementary to the sea, into the clouds, and see how that interacts with the clouds and the sea. And it turned out really well, actually. I was like, okay, good. I didn't mess this up. You just saw me again. That was me adding a translucent layer over the sea with darker thalassine blue. I really like doing that. I really like taking a bunch of water, just putting a little bit of paint in there, and just painting over the surface, and then the gravity does the work for me. So the crests of all the paint that sticks up, all the water, all the paint just kind of goes down into the troughs of the paint and fills those out. As you can see, the same thing to the sky. So the jagged edges stick up, and then keep the original paint, and then the troughs and the deeper areas collect like a puddle the water, and then fill those out, and it creates this really cool, like, I guess I should say very natural style. But there I was painting the ship, adding last layer, making sure the canvases are smooth, and then here I am adding the clouds. As you can see, I added the sunset, or in the sun. Again, that unfortunately that video part got somewhat corrupted when I was transferring again. I mentioned that already. And here I am adding the last little bits to the painting. As you can see, it's still wet from all the translucent layers I added over it. And here's the final bit. Thank you so much for joining me and watching. Join me for the next one. I have plenty more coming out. Take care.